All right, good morning. Welcome to the second week of environmental science here online for the spring semester here at NICC. It is Monday, January 15th at about 9:15 in the morning here at the Kalmar campus. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And if you are home off of work, I hope you take some time this morning and this afternoon to pay service and to pay respect to Dr. Martin Luther King, that you get to spend some time with family and friends. Want to say thanks to those of you who got off to a really good start. It looks like in week one. This is a big class online here this semester, and so I'm really happy to see that everybody was able to get logged in for the most part and get started with the content. We've got a lot of posts, it looks like, in the environmental news and the critical thinking from last week, and so I'll start to comb through those here over the next couple of days and provide feedback. So the week one material is now hidden. If you didn't get a chance to participate in week one, or you came late, or you were still figuring out how to get started in the class, don't panic. Typically what I'll do is I'll reopen up old assignments towards the end of the semester, so people can go back and make up late work or missed work. So if you missed week one, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. You'll have 15 more weeks to get organized here. So what you'll now see when you click in content for the week, or for the course, it'll take you to the week 2 content. And so week 2 deals with the second chapter in your textbook, Science, Matter, Energy, and Ecosystems. One thing I probably forgot to point out last week was that I do include some additional content in addition to the assignments that you'll be working on online. I do provide access to some other forms of content. I usually will load up PowerPoint slides that accompany, I guess, an older version of the textbook, but same kind of thing. And so there's some PowerPoint slides embedded in each week's bit of content. There's also, I usually try to embed at least 1 or 2 videos that deal with topics that are coming out of that week's chapter in the text, some of which occasionally will need to be updated. It looks like this one does not. And so here's a video about the electromagnetic spectrum, which is kind of an application of energy that your textbook talks about. So I'd encourage you to read these kind of things. They'll help you maybe when it comes to taking the quizzes. There's also a video in here about chemical cycling, I think. Here we go. So here's a video put together by Paul Anderson, who has a great YouTube channel called Bozeman Science that I'll use occasionally. And so here's another video that I've embedded that I think goes nicely with the week's content. So those are things that you could look at. In addition to reading the textbook, chapter 2, I would encourage you to look over this content here. Then in addition to those, what I would encourage you to look at or get started on would be the critical thinking assignment for the week and the environmental news assignment for the week. I had a couple of people email me last week asking about late assignments or due dates. I don't know why, if you're looking at this, it says that critical thinking 2 was overdue 20 minutes ago, and that environmental news 2 was overdue on September 6th of 2017. I must have something set in the due dates or the restrictions for these assignments that I'm not aware of, but rest assured you don't need to pay any attention to those overdue dates. Just know that this assignment is available until January 21st, 2018 at 11:30 p.m., as is environmental news. And so that is Sunday night at 11:30. And so get that out of the way really quick. So today's Monday the 15th. You'll have all week basically to complete these assignments. And so they'll end on the 21st, Sunday night at 11:30, at which point these discussions will become locked, and then you'll be ready to start the week 3 stuff. So that's kind of typically how that'll all work. You have a week to take care of these things. One thing that I think I said in last week's video that was somewhat a mistake, and I noticed after I'd sent out the video that I had a couple of slides up that needed updating from previous semesters. But generally kind of the schedule that you can expect throughout the week, and then each week going forward throughout the semester. Generally what I'll do is on Monday mornings, I will release the content for that week. And then you'll have all week to do the reading, participate in the discussions, watch the other video content like I just showed you there a second ago. Participate in those discussions, and that includes posting your own original content and having a conversation with a classmate based on their posts. And so in order to keep the discussion moving, usually what I'll do is if I release the assignments on Monday with the expectation that they'll be due on Sunday, sometime before the middle of the week, you need to make your original post available. And so I'll put this in writing somewhere so that it's maybe a little bit clearer, but let's say that this critical thinking assignment and this environmental news assignment are available starting this morning at 9 o'clock, and they'll be due at the end of the week on Sunday night. I would expect that your original post, your original news article, is going to be in by, late Tuesday or early Wednesday, so that people can read your post and provide you with feedback and questions and response sorts of things, and that we're not all piling up our assignments into the late hours on Sunday night. And so that keeps the discussion going. It gives people an opportunity to actually read other people's articles and respond to them, and then also to read the responses that they've gotten from classmates and potentially respond to those as well. And so, like I said, I can put this in writing somewhere to make it a little bit clearer, but in order to keep the conversation moving and in order to make sure that you get the full credit for each assignment, I'm going to ask that your original posts be due by late Tuesday or early Wednesday, and that your responses to classmates be due by 11 o'clock on Sunday night. So I'll make that a little bit more clear. I think what I had in the video from last week was that original posts would be due by Monday, and that responses would be due by Wednesday or Thursday. And that was from last semester, where the schedule was a little bit different than what we're doing here. So my apologies to that, for that and for the confusion there. So anyway, this week and going forward, if you're participating in these weekly discussions online, have your original post in by late Tuesday, early Wednesday, with responses to classmates due on Sunday. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to bring up. The other thing I want to point out to you is the quiz from last week is now available. So by now you should have read Chapter 1 in your textbook. Looked like most of you had done that and that you had started posting in the weekly discussions. You're also available now to take a quiz. And so Quiz 1 is available. It is available starting this morning at 8 a.m. and it'll be due at 11:30 p.m. on Sunday night. So basically kind of the same time frame as the week 2 discussions. So take Quiz 1. It's 5 questions, multiple choice, over the material in Chapter 1 in your textbook. I think I give you 30 minutes to take that quiz, and it's all done through Brightspace. If you need more time than that, let me know and I can make accommodations. But hopefully if you've read the chapter, that you'll get that sorted out in a timely fashion. And again, it's an online quiz, and you can use the resources that you have available to you there. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. Let's really briefly look at the discussions for this week and what's kind of expected. So like I said, week 2 deals with Chapter 2 in your textbook. For the environmental news assignment, we'll start there. Go out to the internet, find an article or a YouTube video or a blog post or some sort of online content that deals with the topics of science, energy, matter, and ecosystems. And then submit a link to that article, story, newscast, whatever, and provide us with a bit of a summary and include some questions that maybe you have based on your reading. Okay, so I see an error here right away. So I will fix this. When I stop the video, I will fix this. In fact, I'm going to pause it right now and make the change. Watch this. Okay, I'm back. Hey, magic. And the due dates have been updated to reflect what's happening this semester. My apologies. And so, like I was alluding to a few minutes ago, in order to keep the discussion moving and in order to make sure that you get the full credit, what I'd like you to do is have your original article turned in by Wednesday at noon. So Wednesday the 17th at noon. And then your response to a classmate should be handed in by Sunday night at 11:30 p.m. One thing I would mention here would be I do use rubrics to grade these things, and I want to see if I can just pull one of those up really quick. So the rubric for environmental news should be something that you can see. Okay, and so if you click on the discussion for environmental news week 2, chapter 2, here's what I just kind of got done reading to you. And then I use a rubric, and usually you should be able to link to the rubric down here. And so the rubric that I use for the environmental news articles is called, for lack of a better name, environmental news. And so here's how I grade your environmental news posts. So the environmental news posts are worth 10 points. The original post is worth 6 points, and the response post is worth 4 points. And so the original post, I'm grading you based on kind of 6 criteria, 1 point for each criteria, and here are those criteria over here. And so, is the content relevant to the weekly discussion? Is the summary concise? Do you include a hot link that I can just click on and go to your article? Did you raise questions that lead to further discussion? This is the point that students lose the most, is because they didn't ask a question. Do you provide original insight and critical thought? And did you show evidence of proofreading? If you can show me all these 6 things, then you get the 6 full points for your original post. I should also mention, turn it in on time. So for this week, have that in by Wednesday. Then your response, 4 points on the response. These are the 4 criteria that you need to meet in order to get all 4 points for the response. And this not unlike in the original post, this is the one that students tend to lose the most. Raises questions leading to further discussion. So in your response to a classmate, you should be raising a question. What do you think about that? How come this is happening? Why is that? So question. It's part of critical thinking. Providing original insights and critical thought, making reference to the original article. So somehow did you demonstrate that you actually read your classmate's post, and then do you show evidence of proofreading? So this is the rubric that I use for environmental news. It should be something that you can access with a click. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, the rubric for critical thinking. So if we come down here to critical thinking, week 2, and I click on that, here's the rubric for critical thinking. These are worth 5 points. Here's the criteria. Provides clear evidence that some research has been done. So that you don't just give me your opinion, but you actually say, you know what, I thought about this. I went out online. I maybe found some other resources. Here's some links to those other resources. Do you provide original insights? So here's where your opinion kind of comes into play. So I do want your opinion in these critical thinking activities, but I want it to be well-formed and based on evidence that is reliable. Do you raise questions? Did you proofread your post? And did you respond to a classmate? So that's where those 5 points come from there for the critical thinking. Again, that rubric should be something that you can access at the bottom of each one of these assignments. One thing that I'll do, particularly with the critical thinking assignments typically, is I will require that you start a thread before you get to read anybody else's, so that you don't just kind of cherry pick ideas from your classmates, and that you're actually kind of giving me your own thoughts. And so generally when you come in and log into these things, if it looks like nobody's posted yet, it's probably because I've got a limitation or a restriction set that means you have to post before you can read and reply to others. So start a new thread, eh? Okay, and then again, don't forget the quiz 1 is available starting this morning and due on Sunday. Okay, that's all I think I have to add for this kind of week 2 update and reminder. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions about anything. And I look forward to reading what you had to write about last week, and I should be able to get grades out for kind of the week 1 assignments here by the middle of the week or so. So stay tuned for that. All right, thanks for listening. I look forward to reading what you have to say this week, and don't hesitate to reach out with me if you have questions. All right, have a great week, Kate. Thanks.